Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. I am sitting here in the mall, believe it or not, in Bangkok, Thailand. And we're going to talk about lasers. And this is the 10 next level tips for your laser engraving journey. You know, having been in business for quite some time with lasers, there's a lot of things that have worked and a lot more that haven't, really. And so I'm going to try and bring the things. I thought 10, but you know what? I came up with more. There's just a lot of little secrets to this. I do it as a business, but you can do it as a business or even just as a hobby. A lot of these are going to pertain to you, and I hope you learn something. If you learned something from this video, I appreciate a like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But let's get right down to it. This little air blower, I thought I would start with that. You know, I used to use a compressor, and that was kind of a pain, you know. And also, a lot of times you can use a shop vac, right? So you grab a shop vac and you can just suck it out. Sometimes that's a pain, but that's also a good way because you're not getting the air everywhere. You're not blowing the stuff everywhere. But sometimes you need some compressed air. And I was using canned air or a compressor. Then I got this little doodad, and it really was, I don't know, everybody uses the word game changer, but it really has become a staple of my laser business, and just makes things very, very easy to just get that dust from the engrave out and stuff. Now, I'll put one up here on screen. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to use this particular one. This is just the one that I bought. I'm sure there's a ton out there that are just as good and maybe even cheaper. So you can screenshot this if you want and go look for this one or something similar, but they're pretty cheap. And in the end, the portability and I've used it for so many things, not just lasers. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I think you get it. Second thing is putting your air fan outside. Now, lasers, they usually come with these dinky little 3-inch fans or 4-inch fans, and they really don't do a great job. I have never seen a laser that the original fan that it comes with that did a really great job when it came to getting rid of that smoke. And I think it's very important for your health, especially if you're doing this inside your house. Just making sure that any smoke from your laser gets outside or to whatever you're sending it to, right? It is not something you're gonna breathe, or your family, right? So I've always been a huge proponent of 6-inch duct fans. I'll put one up on the screen. This is the one that I use, and it's brilliant. It's very inexpensive, and a night and day when it comes to keeping the air clean inside your workspace. Now, you may have to get an adapter or something to tie it into your laser, but what I really, really highly suggest is finding a way to put it outside if you can. So you can cut a 6-inch hole and run the duct, the flexible duct, outside, and then have the remote inside, have the little switch inside. And to me, this is just the way to do it. You're gonna not have the noise that you would have if it was inside, like the noise I'm dealing with now. That's one major thing. But the other thing is that the air, the smoke that comes out of your laser, if the duct fan is running from inside your laser, pushing it outside, every tiny little hole, I mean, even a pinhole, anything between your laser and where it's going outside, any little hole, smoke is going to come out that hole because you're pushing it, right? Least resistance, some of it's going to get out. You really want to suck the air from your laser to the outside. So having it at the end instead of at the beginning is just far, far superior. You will get what I mean if you do it. I use a little pin light to check and see. I guess that's another good thing to get. This is a little pen light. It can really check for smoke and dust or anything else that's floating outside of your laser, and to see where it's coming from. But if you use that, you will see, if you're pushing the air out, you'll see any little area that's not holding the smoke. But then if you suck it out, you're going to see nothing. Literally, there will be nothing. So night and day better. I think I've belabored the point, but you know, your safety is important, and your family safety is important. So I just remember, suck, don't push, don't blow. The next thing is a little more personal, but it's moving away from Baltic birch. You know, Baltic birch is something, like if you see it and you see an engraved piece of Baltic birch, you're just like laser. You know, it's so ubiquitous when it comes to lasers, and to me it just doesn't look that great on most everything. I mean, look at my items. How often do you see Baltic birch? Almost never. And that's just because I just don't think it looks good. It doesn't stain well. There's just so many reasons. You know, I'll use it for a prototype for something, because you can get Baltic birch much cheaper than a lot of other woods, and it's pretty consistent. But I just don't like it. Other woods, you know, cherry ends up being my kind of go-to, but I love walnut, I love maple. I'll use all three on a lot of projects. Everybody knows I get my wood from Craft Closet. This is where I actually purchase it from myself. It's not like I'm just sponsored by them. They just have everything I want. And I'm going to talk about a couple of different woods and different things in this video, and that's where I get it. So I have a discount link below for that if you're wondering where to get it. The next thing I'm going to mention is colorboard solids. Obviously, I got this from Craft Closet, and it has literally made things so much easier for me and more profitable. It's just pre-painted MDF. And if you've ever painted MDF, you know, it's just a pain. Painting is a pain. And then you gotta, like, you know, wait for it to dry. There's so many things. And just the black and white colorboard solids have generally just been a game changer for me. This is where I make a lot of the money that got me here. Was just yin yang kitties. Just, they sell. What can I say? I just sell them everywhere, and I can do that in such a profitable, quick way using colorboard solids. And then I went off and used some of the colorboard solids that are, or colorboard, I think the expressions they call it, with all different patterns. I put it on there, and those have been selling super well. So basically, the pre-painted MDF. And I use mostly 3mm for everything I do. Sometimes I'll layer it, but sometimes I use 6mm, but generally I use 3mm for pretty much all of my files. But there are some times where you want to use actual solid wood, not plywood. So what I've been mentioning so far is all plywood, even when it comes to the cherry and walnut. I generally use the plywood because it's going to be flatter, it's going to stay flatter, and for most uses it's cheaper. You can get it in bigger pieces, but sometimes natural wood is the way to go. And obviously you can still get that from Craft Closet. It is more expensive, so you want to think about these things. But like, say I'm making a keychain and I want to do a deep engrave, I want to sand the edges, but I want to leave it natural, you know, solid wood is just going to be better. And so this is, you know, bottle openers. If you want to have, it just looks better, but it's going to be quite a bit more expensive. So if I'm making bulk bottle openers for a store, generally I'm going to use plywood. But I mean, if I had a mill or something, I could use the natural wood. And it does look better. It just does. A deep engrave on natural wood with really deep sanded edges. It's going to be far superior. So if you're making a one of one that you really want to look nice, a lot of times natural wood is the way to go. You can usually get it in a lot more varieties. You can get the Paduk and your marbles, just many different kinds of wood you can get in natural wood that you can't, or it's more difficult to get in plywood. So it's just something to think about. It's a tip. I use it reasonably often. The next tip is gel stains. Now, a lot of times I'll use pre-finished wood, but you could finish it before you laser it. Just make sure your exhaust is really good. And I'll bring up the Celtic Cross because this is the first time I used it, and I've been using it ever since just because it works so well. So the pre-finished wood, sometimes it's more difficult to engrave. So I do want to say that. I have learned this over time, that you may have to do 2 passes on a pre-finished wood that you wouldn't have to do on an unfinished wood. But the benefits, and I did a whole video on this, but the benefits are that it does stay flat better. It just does. And it saves you a ton of time on, say, finishing and waiting for it to dry and all these sorts of things. So a lot of times I will use the pre-finished wood. And you can use a gel stain on there and it will only go into the engraved areas, and then it wipes pretty much right off on the finished areas. And so you're gonna get that real deep, beautiful engrave that you're looking to get. And you can see that here on the Celtic Cross. I've used it for many different things, for these, the candle holder. And of course, all of these are my files. You can get them in a link below. And I have a thing that's all my files. You can get that. And just go through my videos and learn how to make all of these things. And all of the things that I'm bringing up today are useful in the things that I make for my business. The next thing along those lines is to protect not just your wood, but especially leather before you start doing your cutting or engraving, right? So what I will do is I will use a leather protector before it goes into the laser. This is, if something gets on it, like a water spills on it, or just I get some dust or whatever on leather, it can ruin your project real quick, especially if it's natural, leather. So save yourself a lot. Leather is expensive. Save yourself a lot of money and just protect it before you laser it. That's all I'm going to say. You can do the same thing for wood. Not always necessary, but sometimes, like especially on a maple, after you engrave it, some of those fine particles get into the grain and it's very difficult to get out. The next thing I'm going to bring up is offset. The offset tool. Light burn is what I use, but whatever laser that you're using, whatever software you're using, offset could be so amazing. I'll try and bring up a little showing of how I use that. But both inside, I use it for like my leather stitch lines, or outside, like on lettering or something. Just play with the offset tool and just see how many times that it comes into use for your laser. Learning your software, that's the next thing I was going to get into anyway. Spend some time and learn your software. A lot of people just want to make stuff all the time. I get it. And by making, you do learn your software. But I think it's really, really a good idea to spend some time, get to know the basics of your software. It's going to really, really change everything about what you do. And so I highly suggest you do that. Next thing, I would say make more mistakes. Hopefully you got some scrap wood or some different things and you could just try things, and screw up. Try something you don't think that you can do, and then just research until you can figure out how to do that thing. And my purses were like that, right? I went through a lot of scrap wood, but it's just something I felt like I needed to be able to make. And it took years to get that file to where it is now. I mean, this was definitely, I just wasn't good enough. to make it where it is now. And it's still not the easiest file ever, right? But believe me, if you knew how many mistakes that I made trying to create that file and how much I actually learned about my software, about Lightburn, trying to figure that out. It's absolutely a journey, and it has made every other thing that I work on 10 times easier. And now I want to just go further. Now that I've learned that, I've been wanting to do this saddle purse for years and years and years. So when I do get back from vacation, I do intend on creating this and a bunch of other purse ideas that I have. And I'm looking forward to doing that. It's still going to be some months away. This is a 6-month trip for me. So what can I say? I'm very, very, very fortunate, very lucky that lasers have treated me well, and I have loved my journey. I have pretty much loved every minute of it for 5 or 6 years now at least. I am gonna go get some coffee or something, but I appreciate you being here. And if there are any other things that you would like for me to talk about, or if there's game changers for you that you want to leave for other people, just leave it as a comment below so others can see it. And then hopefully next episode I will be doing the Q&A from all the videos over the past month or so. Okay, I will see you in the next one. Love y'all.